and shuffle, shuffle off to Buffalo.
You go home and pack your panties, I'll go home and get the scanties, and away we'll go. Oh, off we're gonna shuffle, shuffle off to Buffalo, shuffle off to Buffalo. To Niagara in a sleeper, there's no honeymoon is cheaper, and the train goes slow. Oh, off we're gonna shuffle, shuffle off to Buffalo, Buffalo. Someday I hope we'll be elected to buy a lot of baby clothes. We don't know when to expect it,
But it's a cinch that Winchell knows.
It is one of the most romantic buildings in the country, and for the reason that it represents not only a colossal ego on the part of its builders, but a kind of shared ego for all the rest of us who enjoy the romance of travel through it, coming in the morning, going home at night. And every day, it gives us a kind of refreshment of spirit. This wasn't necessarily in the minds of the people who built it. They wanted to say railroads were great, they were great, look upon their works.
I think any time we think of Grand Central Station, we have to think of Commodore Cornelius Vanderbilt. He was the one who began to bring together the railroads, the New York and Harlem Railroad, the New York Central, and the Hudson River Railroads, and he had the dream of creating the biggest and finest station in the world. Commodore Vanderbilt was an individualist, to say the least, and he was severely criticized by people like Mark Twain and others for his toughness, his ruthlessness, and he was accused of all sorts of manipulation.
An open letter to Commodore Cornelius Vanderbilt from Mark Twain. The immoral practices in so prominent a place as you occupy are a damning thing to the whole nation. You must certainly feel a vague desire in you sometimes to do some splendid deed in the interest of commercial probity or human charity or of manly honor and dignity. It was not human charity, not manly honor, not dignity that caused Vanderbilt in 1869 to locate Grand Central at 42nd Street.
The decision to put the terminal here was made really because of pressures on the family from surrounding property owners who were offended with the enormous smoke that was caused by steam railroads in the open pit north of 42nd Street along what was then Open Park Avenue. And of course by an earlier piece of legislation which prevented steam locomotives from going anywhere south of 42nd Street. So the steam trains used to stop here and change to horse trains, so it became a logical place to build the terminal.
When the Commodore died in 1877, he left $90 million to his oldest son, William Henry Vanderbilt. Under William, who possessed his father's gift for consolidating power, the New York Central system continued to expand, north to Toronto, south to St. Louis, and as far west as Omaha. In 1885, the small hotels, saloons, and tenements that had given the 42nd Street area its domestic character were gone. 42nd Street was becoming the center of an expanding commercial district. From 1898 to 1900, the depot facade was redone. 500 trains a day were now passing through Grand Central. William K. Vanderbilt, who became president of the New York Central system in 1899, voluntarily resigned in 1903, the same year that the renovation of Grand Central began. Grand Central Terminal is pivotal in understanding the change from the 19th century to the 20th century in terms of architecture and urban planning. The electrification of trains permitted the engineer William Wilkes to conceive and execute the idea of multiple level tracks buried beneath the ground a feat that made possible the covering over of Park Avenue. The highly contested design competition for the new terminal was won by the Minnesota architectural firm of Reed and Sten. However, the architect Whitley Warren, a cousin of William K. Vanderbilt, was soon brought in as an associate. Warren was a Francophile and informed the design of the building with the high-style aesthetics of 19th century French Beaux-Arts design.
These are the Triumphal Arches of New York. This is probably the preeminent Beaux-Arts building in America. It gave rise to the great commercial city around it, this great city within a city that is today Grand Central. And this, of course, at one time was the hub of a great real estate empire owned by the Vanderbilts with adjacent office buildings and hotels, making 42nd Street the principal cultural and commercial access of the city. The Vanderbilts, through this construction, gave Manhattan the form it really has today.
In the heart of little old New York, you'll find a thoroughfare. It's the part of little old New York that runs into Times Square. A crazy quilt that Wall Street Jack built. If you've got a little time to spare, I'd like to take you there. Come and meet those dancing feet. On the avenue, I'm taking you to 42nd Street. Hear the beat of dancing feet. It's the song I love, the melody of 42nd Street. Little nifties from the 50s, innocent and sweet. Sexy ladies from the 80s who are indiscreet. Oh, they're side by side, they're glorified. Where the underworld can meet the elite, 42nd Street. Innocent and sweet. Sexy ladies from the 80s who are indiscreet. They're side by side, they're glorified. Where the underworld can meet the elite. Naughty, gaudy, bawdy, sporty, 42nd Street.
Grand Central is really the heart of this neighborhood. 42nd Street is going through a revival, a rehabilitation, an economic revival. And one of the cornerstones of that revival happens to be Grand Central. This is the place where New Yorkers, those from the city, those from the suburban and upstate areas meet, and occasionally even those who come from Connecticut and New Jersey as well. And so it was important to save this area as the hub of the East Side transportation system that brought our various systems together, and as one of the hubs, landmarks, if you will, of the 42nd Street spine that runs from river to river, which is key to the success of the city of New York.
I've got the freight train blues, but I'm too darn mean to cry. I've got the freight train blues, too darn mean to cry. I'm gonna love that man till the day he dies.
In the course of making this film, someone said, there are other railroad stations, but this is a terminal. This is not simply a place to catch a train from. When the Committee to Save Grand Central was formed, they were concerned with preserving more than another railroad station. They were concerned with preserving more than a magnificent Beaux-Arts structure. Grand Central is one of the few remaining human constructions whose symbolic power still affects us. Americans are not noted by and large for our attachment to places. We are and always have been a mobile society. And on one level, Grand Central, like any railroad station, symbolizes that very mobility. On a deeper level, however, this place provides many generations of Americans